So look, man, last year was the first time I started watching NRL and been in love with it ever since. With that being said, State of the Origin is coming up. This will be, of course, my second time watching this series. First time was a dope experience. Make sure that you're sub to the channel. Matter of fact, the State of Origin games, just like last week's games, round 13, is on my GoHamm TV live page. I'm going to put the link in the descriptions and in the comments. You can just click the link. Make sure you go over there and sub to GoHamm TV live, because that's where State of the Origin series this year will be. That's the channel we'll be on. But make sure you smack this like button so more people can see this and more people can go over and sub to that channel. But this is 8 straight. This is the Queensland Maroons documentary from 06 to 2013. We're going to hop into it. I got a lot of people that asked me to do this joint just so basically as a prep for State of Origin, which is tomorrow. So let's hop into it.
State of Origin footy, regarded as the toughest, most fierce and most emotionally charged contest in rugby league. It's the crown jewel of our beloved game and has carried with it some of the greatest narratives and stories. The Queensland Maroons' 8 straight wins between 2006 and 2013 were one of those historic moments that will remain etched in rugby league history and is a topic.
I know they said this was the most physical game, but they getting blasted right now. I pray this get rough like this year how these was, even though the league probably just a little bit softer, but I know they gonna bring some power though.
That needs a deep dive.
Ooh. 8 straight.
Now, before we get started, a shout out to my Patreon Tio, who got to suggest this documentary because of his ongoing support. If you want benefits like choosing upcoming videos, become a Patreon today. The link will be pinned in the comments below.
The start.
Let's start this journey in 2006 with the
start.
appointment of Mal Meninga as head coach of the Maroons. Going into 2006, Queensland were coming off 3 consecutive series losses. There was a clear lack of consistency with the Maroons, as they were experiencing a young turnover in players. It may have not been clear on the surface during the 3-year losing period.
One question I do have: how do they choose the players? Like, or are they only from that, like a specific area, or is it just like a random pool of players?
But Queensland were building. Cameron Smith, Matty Bowen, Billy Slater and Jonathan Thurston all debuted during this era and ushered in the new period for the Maroons footy team. And before this series would start, a huge announcement would be made. It was whether the great Greg Inglis would play for New South Wales or Queensland. It seemed like a big decision at the time, and in hindsight was one of the more significant decisions made in State of Origin history. Inglis, born and raised in Barrowville, New South Wales, played his junior football at the Barrowville Tigers, which created a challenge for him to receive eligibility for Queensland. The QRL would claim that Inglis' first senior footy was at Wavell State High School at 17. This would be contended by many and ultimately found untrue by NRL statistician David Middleton, who said Inglis played his senior footy first for New South Wales. Even with this information, Inglis' Maroons application was granted, allowing him to suit up for the side in Game 1 of the 2006 series. Going into Game 1, both New South Wales and Queensland were considered even favourites. The addition of a young GI and a trio of Lockyer, Thurston and Smith always put Queensland in contention, even when the 3 previous series were losses. The Blues started strong, finishing off an 85-metre try with replacement half Brett Finch scoring in the corner. More on him later. King would add 4 more points, scoring in the corner, before Willie Mason barged his way through the entirety of the Maroons forwards to score a barnstorming try. New South Wales were even getting the upper hand in the biffo, but Queensland would not let up, with Inglis scoring 2 tries in his Origin debut. Stephen Bell would score in the opposite corner with 5 minutes remaining, leaving Thurston a conversion from the sideline to tie it up. With now only 3 minutes remaining, the Blues would find themselves in field goal position. In steps the before mentioned replacement half Brett Finch. Let's rewind and see how we got here. 6 weeks earlier, Brett Finch wasn't even a starting halfback in the NRL for the Sydney Roosters. He would start to play well coming into Origin, but really was nowhere near Origin selection. Although on the eve of Game 1, New South Wales would find themselves in deep halves trouble. First choice halfback Craig Gower was ruled out of the final training session. Matt Orford was injured and Andrew Johns rejected an SOS call. Finch would receive a call 20 hours prior to the game from the coach Graham Murray after a 2-day bender and had no idea he would be selected. Through the luck of those circumstances, he found himself in this moment.
The line, last tackle, Finch. Finch takes the shot. It's got the hook. Yeah!
Wow.
An incredible moment that was really
That was crazy. So basically, he wasn't even selected. They gave him basically like a 2-day contract. He ended up making the team and hitting a pivotal field goal. That was crazy.
Blues' last piece of success for a long time. Although not many have given the chance to the Maroons, they would not play around in Game 2 and were strong and fiery. This match brought a similar fairy tale, but this time for the Queenslanders. After debuting Inglis, who was dropped in Game 2, for the steady Adam Mogg, who played only 7 times in 5 seasons on the wing, was called into the side. The Maroons by halftime led 14-0 and would not take their foot off the pedal. Mogg would chip in with 2 tries, and before you knew it, Queensland were up 30-0. It was a statement performance as the Maroons played New South Wales off the park. Thurston and Lockyer were influential, and the performance with it being Queensland's first 20-plus point win in 3 years. They had the momentum going into Game 3, where they played at the neutral Docklands Stadium in Melbourne. Queensland started off well with the unexpected selection of Mogg again, scoring a freakish try.
Ooh, that was crazy.
New South Wales would return serve though. Against the run of play, Eric Grothe Jr. would intercept and score. At halftime it was 4-4 in a tight battle. New South Wales in just 10 minutes of the second half would score twice, with the second try controversial as Brett Hodgson had dropped the ball in the build-up to the dismay of both Peter Sterling and Phil Gould. The next points would not come into the 70th minute mark when a great Shafosky offload led JT through to set up a rapid Brett Tate to score. They were then down 14-10 with 6 minutes remaining when we were given a moment of absolute madness.
Slow to get back into the line.
In an incredible turn of events, Lockyer had won the game and the series for the Maroons. This single moment is where the trajectory of Origin football was altered for years to come. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this documentary content, don't forget to subscribe. Only 7.3% of you are at the moment, and I would love to get that number up. Over 3,000. The 2007 State of Origin series was a tale of hard-fought Queensland comebacks. In Game 1, we saw a determined New South Wales side storm out to an 18-6 lead, which was capped off by an outstanding individual piece.
18-6 lead. Once it get like 18-6, me personally, I'd be like, yeah, it's probably over. Hey, momentum man, it's hard to get a momentum shift when you down like that.
To brilliance by Blues debutant Jared Hayne. Able to keep his feet in play, turn on the swivel, grubber and score made for one of the more memorable moments of State of Origin. The Maroons would come out in the second half not phased though, with Inglis scoring his second in 9 minutes into the second half. After
second and 2 in 9 minutes is crazy.
Having a try ruled out for a forward pass as well, Steve Price would complete a crash play to tie the scores. The moment would give us the conclusion to the game, which was one that was cruel, but highlighted the series of highs and lows that occur at the Origin level. Jared Hayne, who had just pulled off a miraculous try in the previous half, would have a moment to forget. With the possibility of a 40-20 off the boot of Cam Smith, Hayne would recover the ball and throw it desperately into play. Unawares to Hayne, Smith had kicked outside the 40. The ball then trickled into the hands of Darren Lockyer, who would seal the game with the try. This win was just the start for this spirited Maroons side. Game 2 was incredibly controversial and a nail-biter. Both teams went into the second half tied at 6-6. The deadlock would be broken though, after a piece of brilliance by Jonathan Thurston and his curving grubber. There was serious debate for the pass in the lead-up, which appeared to be forward, but from then on, Queensland gallantly defended their line with the game in the balance up until the final whistle. The win would give the Maroons back-to-back series wins, and even though they dropped the final game, they were the far dominant side in the series.
So that was what, 2 straight right there. This is the 3rd.
The introduction of Premiership winning coach Craig Bellamy as the new Blues coach brought a different.
It's crazy how they lost 3 and then they won 8. Like how long has this series actually been going on? Because I know this started in 2006, that's whenever the winning streak started. They lost 3 games before that. That would take it down to 0-3. How long has this series been going on?
Different prospect to the 2008 series. The 2008 series started poorly for Queensland, falling to a Brett Stewart and Mark Gasnier masterclass. They knew they had to make changes, and fast, if they were going to save this series. Game 2 would see 10 positional changes to the Queensland Maroon side, most notably the introduction and debut for a very young Darius Boyd. Criticism had been heaped upon Inglis, who was outplayed by Gasnier in Game 1. Fortunately for Queensland, both Boyd and Inglis stood up for Game 2 in front of a sold-out Suncorp Stadium. Just 6 minutes in, we saw the sheer power and speed of Inglis, fending off 2 defenders and setting up Darius Boyd for his first.
Inglis was crazy. He don't even seem like he giving effort to try to run through them. He's just running straight through them.
Origin try. Boyd would go in again off an Inglis assist, with the Maroons continuing their rampant display. Thurston booted home 3 penalty goals to bring the score to 18 before Queensland scored 2 more converted tries to win 30-0. Greg Inglis amassed 239 run meters, and his 2 amazing try assists made his Game 2 performance rank as one of the more dominant displays in modern NRL history. This would be the second time New South Wales would be held scoreless, and they did it all without Darren Lockyer. Game 3 was a beauty. It was the huge decider and a spectacular game. It started in true Origin fashion, with a Petro 7-receiver high shot knocking out Ben Cross, starting a brawl in the first minute. Punches were thrown as it set the scene for this tense match. Both teams exchanged tries before we were given a moment of pure athleticism, which produced an amazing Origin try. Folau leaped, and in what seemed like a scene from Space Jam, would catch, twist and contort his body to score. These outer-worldly moments dictate the outcomes of these games. Ben Cross was again in the wars, as Nate Miles picked him up and threw him on his head, which ensued another punch-on. In amongst all this madness was Jonathan Thurston, who found a gap, throwing a filthy dummy to set up Billy the Kid for the series-sealing try. New South Wales fought valiantly, but they succumbed to 2 moments of individual brilliance. JT would win the Wally Lewis medal for his heroic performances as he pushed his name into the upper echelon of NRL superstars. Games 1 and 2 was more of the same. Inglis was impeccable, blitzing the entire New South Wales defence the entire series. With 3 tries and 2 try assists across the series, he once again showed why he was the best centre in the competition. Lockyer, Smith and Slater received fewer plaudits, but remained influential. The Blues fell victim to an enormous amount of errors, which especially costed them in Game 2. Their only consistent source of offense was Jared Hayne, who by himself kept the Blues in both Games 1 and 2. This series would be clinched by the Maroons in Game 2 by none other than Cameron Smith, who dived over after another calamitous New South Wales error. They made it 4 years in a row, with Queensland on another level to the Maroons. This dominant display should be what many remember of this series, but it isn't. The series was decided in Game 2, but by the way the series ended, you would not know it. The Blues were on their way to a consolation win after Haynes scored in the corner. What happened in back play could not be seen till after the try, with a fight breaking out. Brett White and Steve Price were swinging for the fences, with White connecting before Trent Waterhouse came across and tackled Price. There had been a few skirmishes throughout the game, but this one involved a knocked out Steve Price. Brett White, the perpetrator, had said there'd been talk prior to the game about standing up for yourself, and in that moment he felt it was necessary to swing. Price went on to say he was disappointed because fighting was not part of his game. Waterhouse, who jumped into the fight, was put in a rear naked choke by GI and said he almost passed out. Steve Price explained that he respected White and that it was just what happened on the footy field, although he was disappointed with the actions of Justin Poire, who picked him up and dropped.
Oh, he knocked out, bro. He picked that boy up, made sure.
him whilst unconscious. The Maroons would catch this on the big screen and were livid, with Lockyer giving the call to kick the ball to New South Wales and then tackle them hard. This led to the unlucky Kurt Gidley getting absolutely walloped, and another melee breaking out, which resulted in Sam Thaiday and Ben Creagh being sent off. This was the last complete meltdown we saw in State of Origin. New South Wales would win the game, but Queensland would win the series.
They got chippy on that one. Wow. I mean, you beating them up on the series, man. Things get a little too intense.
The 2010 series was over before it started. The Blues would find themselves 14-28 down at ANZ Stadium, and even after putting on a late fight back, they could not overcome Queensland, losing 24-28. The game was a timid affair compared to the previous year, with JT's banana kick for a Slater try the game's highlight. In Game 2, it seemed New South Wales' goal was purely to fight the Queenslanders rather than win. With Game 2 up at Suncorp, it was always going to be difficult. This O'Donnell tackle rightfully started a brawl, with him throwing punches and not being sent off. With Queensland continuing their dominance, New South Wales were frustrated and another fight would break out before Queensland easily secured their 5th straight.
Hey, yo.
At this point, Origin had become comical. The sheer gap in class could no longer be overlooked as Queensland wiped the floor with the Blues. Game 3 gave Queensland the prospect to complete the first Maroons whitewash since 1995. With New South Wales back in Sydney for Game 3, they did not want to be
So 1990, the first one since 1995, so this has been going on for a long time.
embarrassed, but even with a prideful fight, they were down by 1 point at half time. A moment that would occur in the second half would resemble what Maroons footy really is, and the resilience this Maroons side had. A marauding Anthony Watmoe looked a sure thing to score. He only had to beat the meagre Billy Slater to put his side ahead. Slater would dive and wrap his arm around Watmoe, securing the ball in one motion. A Herculean effort
that was a brilliant tackle right
both
there.
Himself and this successful Maroons side. He could have easily given up there. They'd already had the series in the bag, but to hold on showed that Queensland spirit that made this team so great. Billy would go down to the other end of the field 10 minutes later to score, with these magic moments spurring the Queenslanders to a memorable comeback win, with Billy winning Player of the Series. For the 2011 State of Origin series, I've split the 3 games into single moments which I believed described those games. For Game 1, we saw New South Wales actually play quite well in Brisbane, defending their line for the majority of the game and holding on 10 points down. New South Wales would ascend with 2 second half tries to put themselves in front. It was not until we got a classic Maroon set play that the game would be decided. The sight of Slater being shot out of a cannon for a try was all too familiar for New South Wales fans. But the set move was something they continued to do, but was unable to be stopped. In Game 2, Will Hopewadi's moment, where he scored an incredible try on debut, symbolised the Blues' reliance on individual brilliance throughout this period. We saw early on with Hayne being their main threat, and within this, Maroons' dominance, New South Wales would be able to scrape together single wins purely through individuals like they did in this game. In the final and deciding game, Queensland once again proved their salt. The Thurston grubber to Inglis is another play many of us were accustomed to, and it set the tone. They also got in a classic Slater try like they did in Game 1. New South Wales knew what Queensland wanted to do, but they were unable to stop them. Queensland would comfortably take this game and push the streak to 6 series.
Bro, they had the craziest run on these boys.
The 2012 series was spectacular in many ways. It was the first sign of New South Wales life and the emergence of a new State of Origin Queensland superstar. Queensland would almost escape Game 1 with a win, as some controversial refereeing decisions and a lack of discipline cost New South Wales dearly. Michael Jennings' impression of a Superman punch got him sin-binned, which allowed Queensland back into the game. Queensland would score during this period, where both sides went back and forth until Greg Inglis scored the deciding try with 8 minutes to play. Both the commentary team and Paul Gallen were convinced the try shouldn't have been awarded, but Farah's foot was deemed to be deliberate and was awarded a penalty try. New South Wales did not back down though, as in Game 2, misconduct by Cooper Cronk would cause a sin bin and give New South Wales the upper hand. New South Wales relied on Brett Stewart and Todd Carney heavily to lead 16-12 with 10 minutes remaining. It was a crossfield bomb from Cronk to the arms of Tate, where most Blues fans would have held their breath. Tate came down with the ball, but was denied by the timely intervention by Jennings, who knocked the ball out just in time. This clutch play sealed the win for New South Wales and brought it to a decider in Brisbane. Game 3 of the 2012 series was what many considered to be one of the greatest games of Origin footy. We sit in this moment, which will be series defining. Before we watch greatness, let's take a look at how we got there. The match remained tight throughout, with New South Wales scoring first and then Queensland quickly replying. Thurston provided some brilliance to score, with Hodges doing the same. New South Wales produced a second half fight back, with Morris scoring a try of the highest quality. Todd Carney would slot it coolly from the sideline to set up a grandstand finish. And now we re-enter that moment. This is one of the great State of Origin moments. Cooper Cronk, with this, etched his name into Origin folklore.
So they're on the last tackle and Cooper's gone for a long-range shot. Oh, it's got plenty of distance.
New South Wales would throw everything at Queensland during this game,
Wow.
but just came up short. This is one of those games that still remains memorable to this day. Game 1 of the 2013 series was a great Blues display. In what was uncommon considering the previous 8 years, the Blues got out to a 14-0 lead in what was probably their best half during this 8-year period. To top it off, we were given our last proper State of Origin melee to conclude the first half. The Gallen leading with a swinging arm, fisticuffs were on between Nate Miles and Paul
It was the most rumbles on these games.
Gallen. Gallen landed 4 clean blows in what was a one-sided fight. Looking back on it, with the boxing career Gallen has had, it may have not been the wisest decision from Nate Miles. During the second half, Queensland could only muster 1 try as New South Wales walked out winners. Game 2 started incredibly well for Queensland this time. Their trademark fast start at Suncorp was on show, as they scored 4 unanswered tries. The usual suspects were on show, tries for Boyd, Thaiday and Inglis, with the accurate kicking boot of Jonathan Thurston proving way too much for New South Wales to handle. This meant yet again we were heading to a decider, this time on New South Wales soil. In Game 3, New South Wales were without notables Gallen and Hayne, which would make the task much tougher. The game started with a Queensland attacking onslaught as Thurston weaved and barged his way over for the game's first points, proving once again that he turned up in the biggest games and moments. James McManus, who filled in for Nathan Merritt, would score to answer back with the scores at 4-6 after a Maloney misconversion. The second half was very tentative as no one wanted to make a mistake. It took some Blues self-destruction through drop balls to allow Justin Hodges to stroll through. New South Wales would yet again answer, through this time some straightforward running by Trent Merrin. Captain Cameron Smith would carefully game manage the final 8 minutes though, with New South Wales' last roll of the dice falling short. This meant that Queensland would yet again win the series and 2 consecutive years have fought off a fierce New South Wales side in the final game. Names like Thaiday, Parker, Slater, Lockyer, Inglis, Smith, Sevenasiva, Webke, Scott and Thurston were all crucial to this heroic run, and their contributions to not only Origin but the sport cannot be overstated. In fact, the 8 straight winning Queensland Maroons were not only one of the greatest State of Origin sides, but one of the most successful teams we will ever see in Australian sport. So that ends this documentary looking at how Queensland won 8 straight State of Origin series. If you have any other suggestions...
Hey, that documentary was dope. Whoever made that or responsible for that, applause to you, my boy. That was a dope documentary. It was an Alpha. Yeah, hey, shout out to him, man. That was the dope video he put together, which is crazy to win 8 straight years on somebody, bruh. Like, to basically own them for a decade. Yo, that had to be frustrating for the other side. Team, coaches, fans, owners, everybody. That had to be super frustrating. But with that being said, man, we gonna see what the New South Wales and Maroons got to offer this year, which should be great, bro. It's just so many good talented players on both sides. I do want to look at the complete rosters, but I probably ain't going to have time to do that, being that I work so much. But I cannot wait to check it out. This is going to be on GoHamm TV, but the actual game will be on GoHamm TV Live. So make sure you go over to GoHamm TV Live and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you smack that like button so the channel can keep growing. And I'm going to keep grinding. I'm going to catch you on the next one.